We learned earlier today that Rangers defenseman Tony DeAngelo was on waivers. Now we've learned a lot more of the reasons why and the incident that led to this decision by the Rangers. We'll discuss all the details coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Of course, as you know, we're talking about Tony DeAngelo and the drama he's caused with the New York Rangers, which led to the team putting him on the NHL waiver wire earlier today. So as of noon Eastern time tomorrow, we'll know if he's still a member of the New York Rangers or if another organization is going to end up claiming him to bring him into their organization. Now, given his contract and everything that's transpired, I will be very surprised if another team takes him off the Rangers' hands like that. But I guess I just want to talk a little bit further about the information that we've learned and what has kind of led to all of this coming about. Now, as I talked about before in the earlier video, just a quick recap here on the history of Tony DeAngelo. He's been known to have a lot of issues throughout his young NHL and before that his junior career. When he was in the Ontario Hockey League, he was suspended multiple times for a combination of abusive officials and using a racial slur against one of his own teammates at that. It wasn't even an opponent, somebody on his own team. So obviously he came into the NHL being drafted highly by Tampa as a guy with a past that a lot of people were concerned about. Before he ever made the NHL, he was traded twice within a couple of years. He jumped from Tampa to the Arizona Coyotes for a second-round pick, and then he was traded from Arizona to the Rangers as part of that big trade near the NHL draft that year, where we saw Derek Stepan and Antti Ranta be traded from the Rangers to the Coyotes in exchange for DeAngelo and a first-round pick, which turned out to be Lias Andersson. Now, since he's been around the Rangers organization, he's still kind of had himself in hot water a fair bit. He's made a name for himself on social media, and not a good name at that. Certainly, lots of things have transpired on social media that have kind of backfired on him. And now this latest incident that transpired here over the course of the last game and now is just, the straw that broke the camel's back with the New York Rangers organization. So essentially, we saw the Rangers and Penguins do battle yesterday. The Penguins ended up winning 5-4 in overtime. DeAngelo was on the ice for all but one goal, including the overtime winner, which was a bit of a communication gap between he and goaltender Alexander Georgiev. So DeAngelo clearly did not have a good night. He hasn't had very many good nights defensively. Coach David Quinn has scratched him a few other times this season because of his poor play. Not only that, he hasn't been contributing offensively either. He's only had one assist so far in 6 games. So not a good year for a guy who just signed a 2-year deal at $4.8 million. But as I mentioned in the other video where we first learned about him going on waivers, I'm not convinced they signed him to that contract because they really value him as somebody who's a long-term part of their organization. They signed him to that contract to be more valuable to trade. They were trying to trade DeAngelo as well as Ryan Strome quite heavily in the offseason, and they just did not find a deal that made sense for them to pull the trigger, which is the only reason why both those players are still part of the Rangers organization. Now, in the case of DeAngelo, I said there's a variety of reasons why, but obviously it's not all on-ice play. A lot of it is behavioral. They're not going to want to have somebody on their blue line making that much money to be the third best right shot defenseman. I mean, clearly Jacob Trouba and Adam Fox are, a much bigger part of the team's future than a guy like Tony DeAngelo. And of course, we have some, other younger rookie defensemen coming up here and prospect defensemen coming up through the system. Now, in the latest situation here, what we're being told, and a lot of this comes from a combination of sources. We've seen it reported by The Athletic and Rangers reporter Rick Carpinello. I've also seen it on BlueShirtBanter.com, who has also a variety of other sources. It's coming from a lot of angles here, and they all have the same scoop, same story. So I believe it to be true, and I will link the articles down below in the pinned comment so you can view this for yourself to know that this is not my opinion. This is what's being reported out there. So it sounds like here that Tony DeAngelo essentially started a fight with goaltender Alexander Georgiev in the tunnel on the way down to the dressing room. Now, there's also reports, and this part is unconfirmed, but it's been said by enough places that believe it to be true, or at least they think it is, that there could be something to it, and I'm not sure if we'll find out more, but they're saying that Chris Kreider was the veteran guy who kind of stepped in and broke things up and ended up punching Tony DeAngelo in the face is what they're saying. Now, in the post-game media availability, I know you could tell Kreider was Obviously not in the best of moods, obviously due to the loss, but there could have been a lot of other things on his mind of what had just recently transpired here. When the original report said that there was a bigger player on the team that kind of stepped in, I don't think they meant bigger in a sense of size, although Kreider is much bigger. I think that what they meant was a bigger name, like a veteran presence, somebody who has, a lot more say in that dressing room than DeAngelo. And Kreider seems to be the guy that stuck up for the goaltender and kind of broke up the fight and knocked DeAngelo in his place. At least that's how things appear. Now, there's also numerous reports saying that there's many within the Rangers organization that were concerned over how he was treating rookie defenseman K-Andre Miller. Even some unconfirmed reports out there, and I really hope this isn't true, but at this point we can't really say for sure. There are reports out there suggesting that Tony DeAngelo might have taken the puck scored on the first NHL goal by K-Andre Miller, which is why the New York Rangers, for some odd reason, have never posted a photo on their social media that they normally take of the player scoring their first NHL goal. You see a picture of them with the puck that's wrapped. It says first NHL goal on it. They don't have that of K-Andre Miller, which is extremely weird. I mean, you saw Alexis Lafreniere get his first goal, and that came after Miller's, and nothing's ever been posted. And now there's talk that the reason why is because he couldn't get the puck because it was taken from him by DeAngelo. So I really hope that's not true, but at this point, we're probably never going to know 100%. But that just goes to show what the kind of thing we're talking about here, causing a lot of unrest in the locker room. So it sounds like this situation of the Rangers teammates turning on DeAngelo and having enough of him has been building for some time, and it finally reached a peak. I have to think the Rangers have a plan here, because I would think the odds of somebody taking DeAngelo after all this information coming out today is pretty slim. Who's going to want to bring that drama into their locker room? I don't see it happening. And a lot of teams can't afford to take that kind of cap hit on without some money going out the other way. Could they maybe work out a trade after if this? I think it's highly unlikely. If they couldn't trade him in the offseason, how are they going to trade him now after 6 games of poor play in this situation? I just don't know what they're going to do. But the Rangers must have a plan. Like, they could put him on a taxi squad and not play him. They could put him in the minors, because he could certainly go down to there. I don't know what they do. Do they consider trying to terminate his contract for a cause of what's transpired here? I mean, that is a possibility, but they'd have to be, concerned and probably want to, review things carefully to make sure that it's not going to be a grievance from the NHLPA, because obviously the PA is there to defend Tony. Even though they may not agree with his antics, they want to make sure that the Rangers are justified in doing so if they go down that road. I'm not saying they are, but, they only have so many options, and I'm not sure at this point that they're going to want to bring him back into that Rangers locker room. I don't know that you can really move past this without removing the problem from the room. I mean, there's these reports as well. They're talking about the tension that's been in the room, and it seems like he could be at the forefront of it. And so you can't have that. That's just not professional. Like I said, he's got a history of this. Somebody has shared it on Twitter. I'll see if I can find it again, and if I can, I'll share it here as part of the pinned comment. I'll link to it. But there was an interview with Tony DeAngelo's dad from back, and I believe it was from when he was suspended when he was playing junior in the Ontario Hockey League, talking about the fact that he said if he was Tony and he was playing, he'd probably be suspended too, because he talks a lot of the same way, says a lot of the same things. It was how he was brought up. Clearly he's brought up Tony the same way he was brought up. And a part of that includes a lot of, opinions on minorities and different things that are, not really okay and going to get you in trouble. That's just not cool. I don't know. Anyways, it's just a whole thing is a mess here. I'm not really sure what's going to come from this, but I will be completely shocked, especially knowing the full details now, or at least what we have confirmed, that DeAngelo likely isn't claimed. It's just a matter of how does this play out? How does this unfold? But I'd love to know what you think. Can the Rangers bring him back to that dressing room if he's not claimed? Can they settle this and move on? Do they have to send him to the minors? Do they try to terminate his contract? If they have any kind of proof that there's additional mistreatment of rookie going on that's anything like racially related or anything of that nature, that to me would probably be cause for termination. But I don't know. I'm not a legal person. I don't know the NHL contracts inside and out in that regard. So we will see what happens, but I'd love to know what your thoughts are down below. What are your thoughts on the whole Tony D drama? I mean, he kind of went from, people were calling him online today, from Tony DeAngelo to Tony D waived. Could he become Tony determinated? Like, you just can't help but wonder where this is heading. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we can continue discussing this situation a little bit further. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and I'll catch you next time.